Our next panel looks at the system that brings talents from Telangana out into the mainstream. In this next segment, we will look at the role of schools and academies in the promotion of sports. To moderate this panel, I invite LV Navaneeth, CEO of the Hindu Group, to carry this discussion forward. To you, Mr. Navaneeth.
सात mics.
Mr. Abhijit Rao, CEO of Sreenidhi Educational Group. Dr. Sudheer Dara, founder and director of Epione Center. Dr. A.R. Khan, accomplished educationist, academician, scholar and motivator. And finally, the very talented and recently crowned mixed team world champion in the 10-meter air pistol, Esha Singh. Mr. Gaud is on the way. He'll join us when he can. So the topic for today is the role of schools and academies in promoting sports. I thought I'll get each panelist to speak in brief. And we had a lovely audience since morning. After everybody makes introductory comments, we'll open up the questions to the audience. We'll start. We have some people who run academies, some people who work in educational institutes. Some are athletes, some work in sports medicine. So please speak about the topic from your perspective. What I'd like us to hear is, if you're running an academy, how do you integrate education into the academy? If you're running an educational institute, how do you integrate sports into that? If you're running policy, how do you integrate both education and sports? What's an athlete's expectation from an educational institute and sports? And what is the message non-surgical intervention like yours wants to communicate to both institutes and academies? So I will not interrupt any of you. We'll go in an order. Once everybody is done, we'll open up the questions to our audience, if that's fine. So we'll start with you.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. First of all, thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure. I think at Sreenidhi, so I'm representing two entities here. One is Sreenidhi Deccan Football Club, which is essentially an academy, as well as a professional football club. And Sreenidhi Sports Academy, which is actually a sports school, which we started around 2 years back. So at Sreenidhi, definitely we think the definition of holistic education cannot be completed without the inclusion of sports. I think there is an elemental link between education, health, and sports. I also think the parents' mindset has changed a lot. I think it is definitely not just viewed as a hobby anymore, especially not at Sreenidhi. We encourage all our students to participate in some kind of sport or the other, and the sports school essentially is an extension of that vision. We have selected around 5 sports as of now: football, tennis, squash, swimming, and of course cricket to focus in, and we want to produce professional athletes in these 5 sports. And there are a lot of things we believe that can be taught through sports and experientially learned rather than being done in a classroom, be it team building, leadership, discipline. These are things which we can really never teach students in theory. It's always better learned when they actually experience it while playing a sport. So that's something which is very important for us, and we put this into practice. I think a huge inspiration, even though it is not an academy essentially, but a huge inspiration for us has been JSW with the development of their Inspire Institute, which they've done in Bangalore. I think the kind of facilities and infrastructure they have, that is what we strive and aspire to develop, because that's one of the key things that we actually pinpointed and noticed, that lack of infrastructure. So that is something that we wanted to address. And your sports technology partner, I think Mr. Anil is also here. He's helped us develop a wonderful facility for football, and we are going to take up the other sports as well gradually. So I think that's one area where we really wanted to contribute. And what I wanted to just point out is that we don't just restrict our facility to our school students or our academy students. We have partnered up with an NGO. It's called KMR Foundation. It is under the aegis of our Sreenidhi Educational Group. We are located in Moinabad village. So a lot of the government school children use our facilities, and they come down. Our coaches take sessions for them. So that is something that we are doing as a school and an academy to promote sports for the wider community and not only for our school students. So that is something that we are striving to do. Thank you.
Mr. Praveen Raju, from your perspective, you run an international school, you offer integrated education. Help us understand how integrated sports and education is. Also talk to us about how you mentor and you're a guide to Sindhu, who trains at your academy.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you very much for having me on the panel. As you said, we are both a school. We started the school first, and then we started an academy. So the journey has been that, me and my brother both are sports persons. So, when we started the school, we wanted to have sports as one of the most important, very important things. And for a child to develop, the mind, the body, and the soul all have to be integrated well. You cannot say, I don't want sport, or I don't want music, I don't want art, right? For an individual to grow well, it is essential that all the 3 elements come in. So we have to integrate all these 3 into the curriculum. In terms of beyond that, for a day school, it becomes very difficult to do. So then we were building a multi-purpose hall, and then we thought, why not, since we are badminton players, why not we start a badminton academy? So we started in 2016 November, and my daughter was playing, my brother's daughter were playing, that was the inspiration. So we started with 4 athletes, 2 of our kids and 2 more. And we had 7 support staff, meaning we had coaches, we had 1 Indonesian coach at that point, we had 2 trainers, 2 more coaches, and 1 physio. We had about 6 or 7 people in total. For 4 athletes, because we believed that even in how I explained about the mind, body, and soul, also in badminton also you have to have all the pieces together. So top end physical fitness used to happen only in cricket, but in other sports we were very behind. So that's what we brought to badminton. We started in 2016 November. And Sindhu came to us in June of 2017, within 6 months of us starting the academy, for her physical fitness. It's about 46 days before her World Championship. She played that epic, one of the greatest matches ever played by any Indian sports person, and she lost by 1 point. But she found value in what we're doing, so that's why she thought that we should train with us. I mean, she should train with us. So we started with this training itself, then we were doing some corrections and some strategy, and of course recovery. Recovery is a very overlooked thing in sport, right? In my view, recovery is more important than training itself. So then her father is very, as you all know, he's solidly into this sport. He's one of the people who I've seen know more about badminton than the badminton specialists themselves. So we would sit together with her before every match, during matches, during tournaments, and after the matches. We brought in a slightly different dimension compared to what was happening. So our journey has been going strong, and now she is now. Her coach also is from our academy. We have a former All England champion who's come in from Malaysia, Hafiz, coach. So now up to Olympics. I'm really hoping whatever we can do best, we'd be happy if we can bring a medal to India, gold medal in Olympics. So this apart, we have helped Nikat Zareen for boxing before her first World Championship, the fitness training she's done with us. We helped 1 or 2 IPL athletes. We've helped also some people who played junior Wimbledon, now some sailors who just got selected for the Asian Games as well. So we're proud to be part of the journey of such great people, and we're blessed to have somebody like that, training with us. Thank you.
Fantastic, thank you. I had a follow-up question, but I'll go to Mr. Khan with that. Dr. Sudheer, I'll come back to you later. Dr. Khan, you're an educationist, an academician, a scholar, a motivator, and so he was speaking about working with different people. So the question I have is, in the education system, how does one motivate people, whether it's for education or for sports? Is it easier to motivate somebody who's beginning to find their groove in a sport? And is it difficult to keep somebody who's achieved the top of their game motivated enough to stay in the game for longer term? Your views on role of motivation in education and in sports, both from an institution and academy point of view.
Thank you, Navaneeth, first of all, for having me here and then asking this question. I am giving a disclaimer. I have been hearing all those people who are insiders. They have known sports firsthand. And my only exposure to sports is in 1982, I was working as usher in Asiad 82. So that's my only exposure to sports. So I was there for about 2 months as a young boy, working as usher in Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium. But I have an outsider view, and I think that's also having one perspective to look at things, maybe an external view. I find that what coaches normally teach is to succeed. I mean, that's what I understand. But you get success, you look at a sports career, and probably in so many hundreds of occasions, thousands of occasions, they would have 10 times they would have got success. But there is a thing which I always call it as fear of failure. Attachiphobia is the English word for that. We should also train people how to face failure. Because we fear failure, we hate failure. And the only vaccine I know which works against failure is to fail. If you fail more number of times, you are preparing not to fail again. It's like a vaccine, that a live virus that you put inside. So coaches, I suppose, as an outsider, I can possibly say, not only teach them how to pass, how to succeed, but how to deal with the failure which they have to encounter every single day. And if they're good at dealing with the failure, I'm sure one thing the last would have is the failure. There will be no failure left for them. If I may add a point or two here beyond this, is we have probably the largest number of graduates in the country. I mean, that's largely because we have so many academies and institutions. Just out of curiosity, I was checking for the figures, and I find that we have about 44,000 plus colleges in the country, 10,000 standalone colleges. I mean, that's a huge number. So we have so many graduates. I was, out of curiosity, I was also checking up the figures for how many sports colleges we have in the country. We have 106, 107 different sources. And out of this, 80 of them are private. So if you don't have colleges, you don't have institutions, where would you have the sports person? We know that we have talent, we have good number. We have carbon. We have to polish them to become diamond. And we need institutions, we need people like you, we need everybody to make them diamond one day. So this is what, as an outsider's view, I was trying to share with you.
Thank you. And one of the objectives of these conclaves is, the reason we do these conclaves, it's a good intersection of policymakers, academicians, research, corporates, and people who understand sports. And out of this conclave, we craft a white paper. Ion said he skipped mentioning that in his opening address. So we create a white paper, this time in consultation with KPMG, and that is presented to the Chief Minister and the Sports Minister of the state. We did 4 of these last year, and we have reason to believe that the information that comes out of conclaves like this goes into policy making and impacts sports policy of the state itself from point of view of multiple stakeholders. So thanks for that. Dr. Sudheer, I'll come to you. Please talk us through what you do and what is the message you would like to communicate to athletes and people who run sports academies and coaches who are involved in sports.
Thank you, Navaneeth. I'm Dr. Sudheer Dara. I'm founder of Epione. It's a pain management center with regenerative therapies. So basically, we see a lot of entrepreneurs here, owners of the schools and academics. So the basic problem in sports is, if you have a talented guy, talented kid pursuing sports, want to become a champion, national champion, the major point is the injuries. So how to cope up with the injuries. So right now, what is happening in the world? What is the latest research? This is where we should look into. You see, the research says if any sports person, the elite sports person, high performance sports person gets a surgery done for an injury to come back to the sports again, the failure rate is 65%. That means 165, they'll drop back to again to the non-sports lifestyle. So this is the thing which is happening in the sports. Now, the kids, they become champions when they are in the schools. So in the school itself, if the patient has got, if the kid has got any injury, then the injury can be catastrophic. So how to deal with the sports injuries in a different manner. Right now, Hardik Pandya has got a severe spine problem, he got operated. So discectomy was being done. And in contrary, Sachin Tendulkar has got a tennis elbow, he was out of cricket for 6 months, came back again to the same level of performance with some non-surgical therapy. Okay, in the same way Tiger Woods. And the another interesting story is with the Rafael Nadal. Rafael Nadal story is, Rafael Nadal, in between Grand Slams, he used to stop the match and go back because of the knee pain. The major issue is, he's got a navicular bone, a bone in the foot has got a congenital abnormality. For that, Nike shoe company has created a special shoe for him. With this, his knee has got completely damaged. So again, he took some treatment. But the people who, the players who have come back into the sports with a full performance, they never undergone surgery. So now the non-surgical therapy for sports injuries is coming up in a big way, so that the 65% of the failure can be lessened. The failure can be lessened, so that all the sports kids, when they are in childhood and adolescence, when they get injuries, if they get this non-surgical therapy, they can come back with the same viability, same performance. And so we are specialists in this. So basically we do regenerative therapies. What we do is, if some athlete is having some shoulder pain, So with the special scans what we have, we find out what is that structure which has gone wrong. So what is the mechanism? What is the amount of the damage that is happening? And we regenerate that particular ligament or the structure. It can be a ligament, it can be a muscle, it can be, a small bone also. So we kind of regenerate the things. This is the thing which is coming up in a big way. In Epione, we do a lot of this sports injury, management without any surgery. Because surgery is the one thing that will take away the performance, and also in future, if there is a knee surgery done for any sports person, in future, they will set up the osteoarthritis very early, maybe 35 or 40, they'll set up, they'll go into more regeneration, and they might need a replacement surgery. So we in Epione, we do a lot of these non-surgical therapies for sports injuries, but after doing this regenerative therapy, proper follow, proper physiotherapy, proper strengthening of that particular muscles, and also the ligaments has to be done. We are specialists in that, and everyone, the school owners and also the academic owners, they should think about it, and they should bring this type of therapies into this, so that we can produce more number of high performance athletes or sports person in this country.
Thanks, Dr. Sudheer. Esha, sorry to keep you waiting, but we wanted to save the best for last. Congrats on the World Championship.
Thank you.
So please talk to us about your journey from whenever you started to where you have reached, and also speak about the role of your educational institutes and the role of the academies you have been part of it in shaping you into the athlete you are today.
So I think my journey started before me. My dad is a sportsman, so I've grown up watching him win a lot of trophies in rally. So I've always been in a way to beat him. I always wanted to beat all those trophies. I used to tell him, even I'll get into a sport and I'll earn more than you. So I picked up various sports. My school had this tennis thing during summer where even other kids from different schools could come in. It was like a summer camp. So I did that for a few years because that time Sania Mirza was in hype. So everybody was putting their kids into tennis. So yeah, I did tennis for a few years, and then I didn't like it at all because I did not like the sun. I didn't like endurance sports. So then I went to badminton, I tried skating. All of this was lasting only for a couple of years. And on a Sunday morning, I was 9 years old, no school, and I saw my dad heading somewhere. I asked him, "Where are you going?" And I want to come with you. So he was going to Gachibowli Stadium, where that time, I think 2015, that was the only place where shooting was happening. Like we have a huge range even now. So his friend is a shotgun shooter, my uncle, and we went to watch, and that's when I got to know that shooting is a sport. Like you can actually take it up as a sport. And I was thrilled. I mean, I really liked the sport, no running around. It was an indoor sport. You have to just stand and shoot. That was my kind of mindset towards it. Didn't know you have so much of mental training going on once you take it up. So I tried shotgun, rifle, nothing worked out. I couldn't lift it because I was very small. I was falling back. And the only thing I could lift was a pistol, an air pistol. And I started up, I went to Pune, I went to Gagan Narang's Academy in Gun for Glory. I became very strong in my basics. And yeah, that's how my journey started. I played district, I think I played inter-school, district, state, and that's how I went up. So I say from my point of view, I would ask the schools to encourage the students to take up sports and have sports, some or the other sport in your school, because how long will somebody sit in a class? You will really get bored, because you need to have breaks, you need to have a sport, because sports, they release certain chemicals in your brain, the feel-good chemicals, which are actually good in developing a kid. And that's the age where we are actually growing up. We need to have a good physique, we need to have a good body, and it helps the mental health. And I would say that having really good academies actually established in the school, not just opening up a small shooting range or having a small tennis court, that won't do it. you should have certain professionals actually leading up particular students to somewhere, because they will have questions like, okay, I'm playing this summer, what will I do after this? What if they actually get interested into that tennis? What if they really like that sport and they think, okay, I want to do tennis, but they don't have a certain path, they don't know where to go after that school. So I feel having really good academies, even like Gun for Glory, or having our sportsmen open their academies not only out in the outskirts but also in schools, because that's where you will find talent, that's where you will find kids and young people who can actually take up sports. And I feel we should have certain classes where in schools where they tell that even sport is a career. Because now I have many friends, because now they're already in 12th or first year in college, now they can't go into sport because they're so serious into studying. And they're like, I wish even I took up a sport, because they didn't know. My dad was a sportsman, he knew sports is a career. It's not just you become an engineer or a doctor, that's not the only thing. You can do other things in life. Sport is also a way you can go. So I feel creating an awareness about sports, what is sport? It's not just a hobby, it's not just something you need to be fit for. You can take it up as a sport. So I feel doing these small things will lead to big changes.
Fantastic. And I have a follow-up question only for you, then we'll go to the audience.
Okay.
When you said Gachibowli 2015, you were 8 years old, I can guess how old you are now. And success seems to sit fairly well on you are able to handle it. But the question I wanted to ask you is, how do you deal with setbacks?
Okay.
And does our education system prepare us in general to deal with setbacks in life, in career, sporting or otherwise?
Sadly, I feel it's a no, because we are always, even the teachers, we have very few teachers who we actually remember, some which are actually in our brains, like we remember, oh, she had told us a story. But it's more of just, I feel now everything has become so competitive. Not only sports, even academics, everybody has to do well. It's like a pressure on everybody. And I feel it's not just, you need to tell that person how to deal with the pressure, not just saying, no, you have to do well in this exam, no, you have to win the competition. But how? You can't just say, win it, or good luck. You need to teach, you need to give wisdom to that person for them to succeed and excel in that. So I personally, I usually take setbacks or a bad match as a teacher. So I take a lot of learnings from it. I sit back, analyze what went wrong with that match, and instead of getting upset, the upset feeling lasts for a little long, and that's good. That means you cared about the match, you tried your best. So I feel, I just sit back, I sit and analyze and I think what went wrong, and I feel those are the matches which brought me here. Because if those things never happened and it actually happened in an important match, I wouldn't know how to deal with those. So I feel now I am in a state where I know my performance because of such matches.
Fantastic. There's always so much to learn from people far younger. Youngest on the stage, but so much wisdom. Thanks for that. We'll take a couple of audience questions. So if anybody has a question for any of the panelists, please raise your hand and we'll get a mic over to you. There's somebody there. Yeah. We'll take your question next.
Yeah, hi. This is Anil from Great Sports Tech. This question is to Abhijit and to Praveen. This in two parts. One is, what inspires you to come up with the vision to have, a very top of the line sports academy or infrastructure? And the second part, how do you justify, putting in the investment and knowing that, the ROI really may or may not be there? You really can't recover that through the fees and, so much other, the running costs and everything else attributing, to running a good institution. So what, maybe we'd like to hear from both of you in terms of how you came up with this and how you sustain this, and, just share your thoughts.
You can decide who goes first.
I think it's a combination of passion and potential. We have huge population in the country, and I think as Sir was saying, there's only 106 sports universities or colleges in the country. There is huge scope, maybe not right now, but in the future. But I think the key aspect is having things ready, having the infrastructure ready in place for when that boom does happen. In terms of ROI, I think we are still working towards it. I think that's something that the sports school is, of course, a service to the community, to Hyderabad, to Telangana, but it's also a way for us to have a self-sustaining model. And also in terms of the club, the football club, that also has to be self-sustaining after a point. There's only so much that we can pump in from our other businesses. So I think the idea to be able to have a sports school where it is residential, wherein we're focusing on 5 or 6 sports, and then we want to get the students joining in young. There's no point of us admitting a student who is in 10th grade and working on them, because that's not going to make them a professional athlete. So that is something that we are focusing towards, and I think it's more a long-term plan. When we are working in this area of sports, we cannot expect to get a ROI immediately, but we do see a bright future. Maybe 10, 15 years down the line, we'll definitely reap the rewards of having the investment done right now.
Very similar to what he said. There's hardly any ROI. Unfortunately, a large percentage of our athletes are not in a position to pay. So we give very deep discounts to free. We train a lot of athletes. So it becomes very difficult for us to sustain that way. But we look at it like what he said, it's service that to back to the sport that we will be giving. So that's why we are okay like for other businesses to support that. And like he said, maybe 10, 15 years, maybe a shorter period probably. And as I told you earlier, it's completely not an accident, but it's like you don't plan to be like that, but you know that these are the pieces that are needed for athletes. You start to build those pieces, then success will come. So that's how our plan has been.
Maybe get the mic. Yeah.
Hello. Yeah. Hi. So I had a couple of questions, but Anil asked one of my questions, so I'll not continue with that. This is again for both Abhijit and Praveen. So I just wanted to understand what kind of grassroots development activities, the sports activities, as a school, as an academy, you are planning for, and what is the result you are looking forward for?
Okay. So one thing I can tell you is that school infrastructure is the biggest wasteful and underutilized infrastructure in the country. We have, tens of thousands of schools, right? We work for only 200 days, for 6 hours a day. The rest of the time we have grounds, we have so much infrastructure, it's all running waste. So I had taken this up with the Telangana government that you should enable us to kind of do all these things. So we are running an academy, you all are saying it's very good, but we don't have a mechanism by law that allows us to do these things, right? But the government said, we are planning something, but it didn't come through. Then the Secretary of Sports at that time, Mr. Radhesham Julania, had come down to see us to understand what we are doing. So I asked him the same thing. So they've come up with something called a Fit India 5-star rating. I would encourage Hindu and Sportstar to write more about it. So if you apply for that 5-star rating and you have a 5-star rating, you can give your facilities to the community at a reasonable cost. So he said that we're coming out with this and it will enable you don't have to go to anybody. So that's kind of a route that we have gone through. But unfortunately, I can tell only so many people, right? But I would encourage you to, write something to enable more massive infrastructure to come into the system.
You're welcome to write for us. I think you should.
I think in terms of grassroots development, we're taking it sport by sport. We're focusing largely on football right now. And I think a way we do that is, of course, have sessions run in our academy, but at the same time, we are going to communities. And if there are facilities there, we are running grassroots programs for children there. So one of the facilities that we go to is My Home Avatar, which is close to our academy. So we go there and then use their facilities, and our coaches from our academy go there. And we have a lot of children enroll in football, for instance. So gradually in that way, we want to focus on each sport and develop it further in that way. But I think, as Sir has mentioned, I think support from the government is also needed for us to take it, on a much larger scale.
Thanks. And to wrap up, whether an institution or whether it's an academy, whether it's sports or it's education, discipline is important. I thank this panel for keeping to time discipline. We are 2 minutes on the clock, but we'll call it a wrap. Thank you very much.
This was an important discussion on the importance of nurturing sports at the very basic blocks in society, that is the schools and academies. We hope to see some of these recommendations implemented in Telangana's educational ecosystems. I request Mr. Navaneeth to please present our guests with tokens of our appreciation and gratitude.